everyone. So we're going to get into my story now, and we're going to start with the analysis phase. So as I mentioned, this is the most important part for me because you need to understand what that problem is that you're trying to solve. If you don't understand it, you're going to be fixing something that might not actually be an issue. And for me, this was also that part of that change journey. So starting people on that change journey by bringing people on, talking to people, letting them vent about what the problems are. So how did I do it? So I'm going to use this clicker actually. So there was a lot of listening. When I started, I went and met as many people as I possibly could who was working on projects. So project managers, program managers, sponsors, and anyone generally who had an opinion about projects at Sysco. I kept it really unstructured when I was meeting them because I was new and I really wanted people to feel safe telling me what they actually thought. So I did have some probing questions around what they thought about the current landscape and what they thought a PMO was. But as I said, I kept it very unstructured to make sure that they had a safe space talking to me. Then I did a pulse survey. So this covered everyone who was involved in projects. So this gave everyone the opportunity to give me some quantifiable data, but also give me some comments around what they felt they wanted, what wasn't great, what was good. But that meant I touched everyone, so everyone got their chance to have an opinion. And then I did some health assessments. So this is just assurance. I call it health assessments at Sysco because I don't want it to be as scary. And I think health assessments make it sound a bit nicer. Because they didn't have a PMO, it was difficult to assess anything. So I had to use a different health assessment that I'd brought in another organisation. And I focused on the larger transformation projects. And what that did is them 3 areas then really give me an understanding of that problem that I was trying to solve. However, at this point, because you're talking to people, it's really easy to get distracted. And this happens, it still happens today. I still get distracted by the same things. But these were 2 of the distractions. So there was a lot of noise that I just need to bring in a demand process. If you bring in a demand process, PMO will be fixing it up. Sysco will be great, all our projects will run great. So this one, for me, I could see there was a problem with demand, but I needed to see the full picture to see what is the full landscape of problems that we've got, not just one. And I think a lot of people who needed that demand process were just thinking about it from their perspective. So don't get distracted by the noise. Keep focusing on what that problem is. Another one, this was around post-implementation reviews. So our CFO wanted me to do post-implementation reviews to look at whether the financial benefits had hit on our projects or not. We don't even have a business case. We've not got anything documented. So I was like, no, I'm not going to spend my time as a one-person PMO doing financial benefits reviews. I need to have a look at the full landscape. My favourite one, still get this every day today, when can we have some templates? When can I have a lessons learned template? So again, I knew they needed templates, they needed that consistency. But right now, I'm in analysis. It's not important for me to spend my time as a one-person PMO creating lessons learned templates. We know they're all important, but not right now. And then finally, we tried a PMO before and it didn't work. So this one was a real driver for me because I did not want to be the 3rd person to fail at bringing in a PMO at Sysco. And that, I suppose, that drove me even more to want to focus on what is the problem that you're trying to solve, because the other people had created lots of templates, but they still had the same problem. So for me, that was a massive driver of, like, make sure I'm fixing the right thing. So, ignoring the distractions, we've done the analysis, and now I'm just going to talk about the problems that we faced. It's very high level. There's a lot of, I could talk to you all day about the problems that we've got, but I'm just going to keep them quite simple. So I split them into categories. The first one was around demand. We did have a problem with demand. So what would happen, and there was some governance here, you'll be happy to hear, but what you could do is you could come up with a project idea yourself, you take it to capital committee, and they just give you funding. There was no one looking at resourcing, no one looking at strategy. The business case is just one page of financials. So what that was creating was a lack of approval, and it was creating a prioritisation problem with projects, because you'd got your funding, you then wanted to just move forwards. So people were, arguing about which should go first. Then there was life cycle. So this was a real eye-opener, and I honestly thought I should just resign now, because it was so bad. It was really bad. I've never seen anything like it, and because the organisation is so big, I was in a bit of a panic of like, how am I even going to do this? It's like everything I looked at was a mess. It was like a can of worms. So there was things like people using Excel for project planning. You've definitely all seen that before. But I actually saw someone managing a program in a PowerPoint slide, moving little boxes on, and I was like, why would you do that? I could see you nodding, like, why would anyone do that? It must take so much time. They had different names for sponsors on different, so you could be a sponsor, you could be an exec sponsor, but you had the same role, but you had a different name. So they didn't know what they was doing. Some had status reporting, some didn't have status reporting. I wish I was here for the status reporting one yesterday. They had red, amber, greens, but everyone had their own definition of them. And they were all emotion-based, so there was no facts around it. It was just, this person's upset me today, I'm going to be red. So yeah, we've definitely all felt that one as well. I do that too. I do have to stop myself doing it. So that, because of the inconsistency that we had across all the projects, it meant there was no data. So you couldn't evidence what projects we got. We didn't know how many projects we had. We didn't know how healthy the portfolio was. So that really meant then, in terms of our strategic goals, we didn't know how close we were to them or not. So they were the main problems that we have. So now I'd kind of took everyone on that journey and spoke to lots of people, figured out what the problems were I needed to solve. I now needed to create like a sense of urgency with the exec. And I decided the way to do that was to create a maturity matrix. So you can see down the left there, I've got the different categories that we went through. And I put everything at level 1. So you can imagine from an exec perspective, the competitive, they didn't like it. There was a lot of noise around it. You need to fix all this now. This is going to impact our strategic goals, all these transformation projects that we've got. It really panicked them, which is great. That's exactly what I wanted, to create a panic.